Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel So Little Time, and my name is Karen. In today's vlog I'm going to be talking to you all about the wonderful world of dressmaking and sewing and how you can get started. So if that is something that you'd like to get into or interested in, please stay tuned. So firstly, before I start this vlog, I just really want to apologise for the technical difficulties that I've been having on my last few vlogs that I've uploaded. Especially the last two, they had a real lip sync issue that I noticed, which was really unfortunate as it takes a lot of time to do the filming and to edit it. And then once it's uploaded, I was really disappointed to see that I'd had that problem. I won't bore you with all the details as to why it happened, but I have now hopefully rectified it. So moving forwards, my vlogs should be a lot clearer for you. So let's get stuck into today's video then. Laura from the Specky Seamstress had set up a series of vlogs about how to get into dressmaking or how to start sewing. And she had quite a lot of questions, I think, from her viewers on this subject. So she did put it out there to the rest of the sewing bloggers to join in if they fancied. And I had anticipated to do that a lot earlier than today, but I just haven't had the chance with the whole lockdown situation. So today I'm going to be bringing this to you, so hopefully you will enjoy this vlog. I've done a set of sort of 10 suggestions on how to get into sewing and dressmaking. So it's just my personal opinion, and I just think it will help you if you are interested in starting. So first of all, to get started into sewing, I would suggest that you just mention it to anybody who wants to listen, basically, because you will be really surprised at how many people will offer you fabric, haberdashery notions, sewing machines, things that they probably had previously in their life that they don't want to use anymore. And that is what happened to me. I've been sewing now for well over 10 years. And when I first wanted to get into it, I didn't have anything, and it was just really purely off the back of my mother-in-law making a little girl's dress for my niece. I saw this dress and I was just absolutely in awe of it, and I really wanted to have a go at making one myself. I don't really know what came over me, I just thought I'm going to make one of those. And so that is how it all started, and that was just before I turned 30. So I knew for my 30th birthday that I would be requesting a sewing machine as my present, because obviously it being a big birthday, I knew like my grandparents and mum and dad and that kind of thing would give me money towards it. So that is what I did. Now, when I did first mention it to friends and family that I wanted to start sewing, I firstly had a little practice on my mother-in-law's machine. And then a friend from my running club, she just happened to mention that she had an old Singer machine, which you'll see is right next to me here, and she didn't want it anymore, and she just said it had been sat there in her house for goodness knows how long, not being used, and would I be interested in taking it off her hands? And I obviously said yes, for sure. And I had never sewn with a sewing machine prior to using my mother-in-law's, and also I'd never even threaded one up. I think I dabbled with it at school once or twice, but really I wasn't that interested in it at that stage at school. So yes, she gave me this and she didn't want anything for it, which is amazing because these Singers are really quite something. And it's a really old machine, but it has been adapted to have a motor on it. So you don't have to use the hand wheel, you can just use the foot pedal. So it's got a motor on it. And it sews beautifully. And I was really lucky enough to have a friend who, her father used to work in the sewing machine industry, and he used to service the machines. He has since retired, but he serviced this machine for me in return for a cake that I baked for him. So he did that, and he said, this machine is beautiful, but you want to keep hold of this. So I'm definitely going to do that. And I have used it. It was the machine that I first started sort of practicing on at home. And it's great for freehand machine embroidery. I think Poppy Treffry does use these machines for hers. If you've not heard of her, she is based in Cornwall. She does some beautiful freehand machine embroidery products. Yes, so that is what I would suggest you do first of all, is just mention to friends and family that you are looking to start sewing, and you will be surprised who comes out of the woodwork with hopefully some things to pass on to you. So the second thing is then to start basic. And by that I mean sewing straight lines. And the first thing I had to go at was sewing pillowcases on this machine. And you know, my straight lines weren't very straight, they were all over the place, I couldn't get used to the speed and that type of thing, because this particular machine, you do control the speed with the foot pedal, so it's not got like a little switch on a lot of these computerised machines do now. But it does so beautifully. So I did manage to make a few little cushion covers and that kind of thing, just the envelope style ones. So there was no zips or anything to insert, really, really quite basic. Yeah, so that is what I would suggest. Just start really, really basic, just straight lines. And then third thing is, once you get used to the sewing machine and having a feel for it and doing your seam allowances and that kind of thing, I would start with very small projects. So like I said, pillowcases is absolutely perfect. You could do some little homeware. You can make some little lavender bags. You know, they're just squares of fabric and you just stuff them with some lavender. And then once you want to get into the side of dressmaking, I started sewing children's clothes first, obviously because they're a lot smaller. And sometimes they can be a little bit more fiddly because of the smaller pieces. But if you do, say, a little girl's dress or a romper suit for a little boy, maybe start from the age of 6 months up, then the pieces aren't too small. So the particular dress that I was in awe of that my mother-in-law had made was this one. And this is the New Look 6576 pattern. And it goes from newborn to about 24 pounds in weight for a baby. And as you can see, it's just a lovely little sort of A-line pinafore dress, and then you can put some appliques on the front of there. And so that is what I sewed up, and I sewed so many for my friends who had had children, and it was just a really nice straightforward sew. And luckily my mother-in-law, she took the time to teach me how to sew, so I did actually sew a romper suit for a little boy way before I had children, but I don't have it anymore, unfortunately. Yes, so that is what I sewed. So that is a really good basic pattern to start with. So just to mention, off the back of this video, I am going to be uploading an old video that I filmed 2 years ago now, I think it was, probably over that actually, and it was in collaboration with Loros Charity, who are a charity based in Leicester. And they have a lot of charity shops, and basically they contacted me to ask me to help them with their campaign #ShopLoros, and I basically went into their shops and purchased an item of clothing to upcycle into a little girl's dress. So I basically did a tutorial on how to make this dress. So I'm going to be uploading that video for you after this vlog, just so people who are looking to get into dressmaking can see how simple it is to make a little dress for a little girl. The only problem with that video is, as it was the very first video I'd ever filmed, way before I had my channel, the volume is quite low because it was before I had a microphone, so you will have to turn the volume up quite loud to hear me. Okay, so question 4, or number 4, is to use sturdy pieces of fabric when you first start sewing. So you don't want anything that's too fluid or movable, so nothing like your viscoses or rayons or anything like that. I would suggest to use quilting cotton or cotton poplin, something that's got a really good weight to it, is really easy to sew with, so it's not going to roll or wriggle around on your machine. And when you make a little girl's dress or a romper suit for a little boy or anything like that, those fabrics are perfect. And likewise for pillowcases and homeware, you know, anything that's really sturdy is going to be the best fabric for you to work with initially, just so you can get used to using your machine and just handling the fabric and just seeing how it moves and that kind of thing. So that is what I would suggest. And then number 5, I would suggest, once you have get more established on your sewing machine, that type of thing, I would suggest perhaps going on a sewing class. I know there are various classes out there where you can do a 6-week block of like beginner's dressmaking to get into it, where they teach you right from the basics to making a garment, or you could just go on one where you make a specific garment for yourself. So the first thing I did was made a skirt for myself, and I did that at Guthrie & Garney in Birmingham. And Lauren, when she released her book, she then started holding classes how to make some of the projects in her book, and the skirt I made was from that book. So I went along to that class and made the dress in a day, and I really enjoyed that. It was great to sit there with other sewers and pick up tips and tricks, and also I had Lauren there as well just to help guide me through, and it was the first time I'd inserted a zip. Yeah, loads of different techniques that I'd never used before, and it really made my confidence soar and gave me the confidence to go ahead and try it again on my own. So I did make a couple of more skirts of that particular pattern afterwards at home on my own as well. Okay, so number 6 is to take your time in choosing and buying a sewing machine. So like I said, I had this one first, but I knew that I wanted a computerized sewing machine for my 30th birthday. So I went into John Lewis and had a look at the variety of machines that they got there. But I think at the time, I really wasn't very knowledgeable on what machine I should be going for. And I just went in with sort of an intermediate level machine in the end. And I think I actually chose the machine that I've got specifically because it got decorative stitches on it. And if you then take it to this time of day, I wouldn't obviously even consider that as a factor in a choice of sewing machine. So obviously my choice would have changed significantly. It wasn't a cheap machine. It's the Janome DC3050. It served me really well. I've had it now since my 30th birthday. It's served me so well all this time. I've not even had it serviced and it's never broken down on me, touch wood, apart from the foot pedal. But yeah, it's really a good machine. I don't really use the decorative stitches that much on occasion, you know, nothing really to use it for other than just to prettify up some dressmaking, I suppose. But yeah, I don't really use that. So if I was to go ahead and buy a sewing machine now, that wouldn't even factor in it at all, and I would just look for a really decent machine that came with a variety of feet and that kind of thing. So my machine did have a few feet that came with it, but I have over the years just bought a few extra feet to go with it just to aid my sewing. So that is what I would suggest, just do some research into what type of machine would be best for you. Okay, number 7 is to tackle one project at a time, because I know we all get well overexcited and want to get stuck into all sorts of making different patterns and different things. It is really easy to start cutting out projects and start sewing it and put it to one side and then, oh, I'll do something else. And in the end, you end up with this pile of work in progresses that just never seem to get finished. So I would say just tackle one project at a time and really spend some time focusing on that, and then just getting all the things that you need, the fabric, the thread, you know, any bits and bobs that you actually need. So eventually you will stock up on a lot of haberdashery items, and you don't need everything all at once, you know, you just gradually get the bits and bobs that you need. I would say the only specific things that you really need at the very start is obviously your sewing machine, a stitch ripper, mine actually came with one, and your standard sort of zip foot and normal sort of sewing machine foot, and then you can add on a lot more notions as you go along. For instance, like the walking foot, I do find that it's one of the best feet that I've bought for my machine, but it's not a cheap accessory. It is quite an investment piece, but it's worth it. So number 8 is don't buy cheap, and by what I mean by that is you get what you pay for. So sometimes you can go to, say, like a market and buy some fabric which is relatively cheap, and you might be lucky and the quality is really good. I have had that happen on numerous occasions, but there are other occasions where I have bought cheap fabric and it just hasn't been very nice to work with, or it hasn't worn very well or washed very well. I remember buying a fabric off a market once for a little girl's dress that I was making for a friend, and it was beautiful navy blue fabric with anchors on, and then as soon as I washed it, the colour faded so bad, it looked like it was about 6 years old. I was really disappointed. So, and that was really cheap fabric. So sometimes you do get what you pay for. So the likes of the more expensive range of fabrics, you will find the quality is a lot better. They will wear and wash a lot better, and obviously handle a lot better as well. So, and that just goes for the same with sewing machine feet. You know, don't buy just your universal bog standard sewing machine feet. I would advise to buy the ones specific for your machine, by the brand name of your machine. Yeah, and then number 9, buy some books for inspiration. I love to sit down on an evening sometimes and just have a flick through my books. I've got all 3 of Tilly and the Buttons books, and I love flicking through those. I haven't made all the projects out of them as yet, but over the years I will. And I just love looking through those and having a flick through. I've got various other little books where I've got, you know, small projects for making toys, children's clothes. I think there's a quilting book that I've got as well, that type of thing. So yeah, just really, just something to give you inspiration, and just nice to have a look at. And if you can get a sewing machine book that will tell you how to do different types of sewing, so like for inserting zips, doing different seams and that kind of thing, that would be really helpful. A lot of the books I have that has got that in there as well. I haven't got one specifically for how to do certain things, which I would like to get actually for the future, maybe something that's got a little bit more in depth about dressmaking and fitting and that type of thing. But yeah, a lot of the books that I do have just sections about how to insert a zip, how to make some bias binding and that kind of thing. So yeah, just for inspiration, it's just nice to look at, I think, sometimes as well. And the last one, number 10, is to just practice, practice, practice. That is the only way that you are going to advance in your sewing. Moving forwards, you just want to practice on loads of different things, and don't be scared to try things. So if you would like to make that skirt, go ahead and do it. Yes, use a cheap fabric at the beginning for a practice. You know, you don't want to cut into that beautiful fabric until you've mastered the fit and you've mastered how to do the seams really nicely. And you know, just that's all I can say. It's just practice as much as you can, and you know, don't be afraid to make gifts for people even if you think they're not good enough, because in the past I've sent gifts to friends and thought, well, now I look back and think, goodness, they must have thought, what on earth do I want that for? But yeah, it's all practice, you know, and it's nice to make gifts for people. So that is basically my 10 suggestions on how to get into the world of dressmaking and sewing. So I hope you have found it useful. Yeah, and I just would advise to go out there and just give it a go, and you won't look back. I haven't looked back. I am completely 100% obsessed with sewing. I absolutely love it, and I tell you what, 20 years ago I never ever would have thought that I would be doing sewing like I do now. And I do actually remember once saying I would love to be able to make my own clothes, and that was way before I'd even started sewing at all. And here I am, able to make clothes for myself that I wear on a day-to-day basis, and the majority of the clothes I wear are handmade by myself, so I don't really wear or buy ready to wear very often anymore. So you'd be surprised at how far you will come. You know, in 10 years time, you look back and think, goodness, you know, why didn't I pick it up earlier? And I wish I had of. So I really do hope that you have enjoyed this vlog. I look forward to hearing if you are going to be getting into dressmaking or sewing. Yes, so please do like this video if you have enjoyed it, and if you haven't subscribed already, I would be most appreciative if you did. That would be amazing. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Bye!